Welcome to the Golden Keys, a Twin Cities-based podcast. We are so happy that you found us. My name is Trent Zimmer, and alongside my wife Carissa, we've made it our mission to bring you, the listener, powerful stories, endless opportunities, and educational resources that will help you become the best version of yourself and ultimately lead you to living the happiest life possible. If you've ever gotten anything positive out of this conversation or this show, please consider leaving us a 5-star review and sharing this with just one friend. It's the best way for us to grow and make an impact on our community. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. All right, David Penn, thank you for being here. We've got the owner of the Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club.
Hi, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool to hear your story all the way back from pre-Horse and Hunt Club, because you've got a great story.
Sure.
And one with a lot of ups and downs in it. So why don't you just go ahead and share how you got here?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of always started with, in a 2-year process, I went from applying for a part-time job on Craigslist to buying the Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club. And it's kind of an interesting journey that got me there. Background, I was born in Thief River. I'm a Minnesota kid through and through. I was born in Thief River Falls. My dad was in the snowmobile business, and then a couple areas we lived in Minnesota, moved down to the cities. I attended Concordia St. Paul, played football there, and now live in Bloomington. My wife Charlotte and I don't have any children, but Charlotte is a 3rd grade teacher at an elementary school, and my life's out here at the Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club.
You have dog. You have furry kids.
I have furry kids. Yeah, I've got 2 dogs personally at home, and then there's about 12 dogs that belong to me here at the club also. So,
that's so good. I think that's like everybody's dream.
Training and yeah. So picking up a 7-week-old puppy tomorrow. So I'll have a brand new puppy on the property too. So, yep. So yeah, furry friends is my life. I always said when we were dating and engaged, my wife was a kindergarten teacher, and that was about the best form of birth control there is for a marriage. So when she had a classroom full of kids, there wasn't much motivation to have our own at first. So, but hospitality background, variety of clubs. Actually, where I started my hospitality career was my brother was a sound engineer out at Paisley Park, and I used to be a gopher. I used to run and get groceries and make food out there for years for the engineers and kind of the background people. So that's kind of what got me into making food. I've always loved the kitchen, but and then various clubs background, a lot of times in both golf clubs, private clubs, and then also in the hotel hospitality side of things. So wide variety of background in that. What brought me to the Horse and Hunt Club was I had left Minnesota Valley Country Club to open Ike's Food and Cocktail in Bloomington. And about 6 weeks after successfully opening that restaurant, my life would change. I would have emergency quadruple bypass surgery at the age of 42. I would be misdiagnosed multiple times by multiple doctors because of my age and my lack of there being a blood pressure issue and not triggering it really in any labs. They call it a widowmaker for a reason. I was 99% blocked to my widowmaker, and that's because it's kind of a hidden thing. So when I went in, they discovered that I had a heart blockage. The doctor was going to go in, and they thought I might need a stent. I don't remember this, but my wife would remember that I got rolled into the operating room. About 5 minutes later, the doctor was already out in the waiting room with her. And that's when he told her, he said, I have no idea how your husband's alive. He's 99% blocked in his widowmaker. We are putting him in intensive care and doing heart surgery as soon as we can assemble the team in the morning. So I would spend that night in intensive care, and then subsequently wind up having a very long surgery for emergency quadruple bypass. There were a lot of challenges and issues within the surgery. So it was a long surgery, and then I would wind up having a lot of complications because of the emergency form of the surgery. I would come out of the surgery in full kidney failure. And so it was touch and go for the first 3 days post-surgery. They were about ready to determine whether or not I needed to go on dialysis. And then fortunately, my kidneys woke up. They only woke up to about 20% function. And so I was extremely sick. Most people come out of quadruple bypass and they start to feel better as soon as their chest heals. I would go the other direction. I would spend a long time in the hospital. I would then spend quite a bit of time in a recovery nursing home where I was the youngest person by about double age. I turned 43 in the nursing home and was celebrating my 43rd birthday with people who were in their late 80s, early 90s. And
You
I
probably
was
learned a
their
lot of new
adopted
card games.
grandson the whole time I was in there. What's that? Say that
You
again.
probably learned a lot of new card games.
Learned a lot of card games, but honestly, that's probably where I learned the most valuable life lessons. Being around people who were in recovery at that age were people who were finding out they never got to go home again because they broke a hip or those kind of things. So to see people process that over a chunk of time, and how some of them were optimistic about it and some of them it just absolutely devastated them. So it kind of gave me a new, like, I really had an appreciation for my life because it was such a near miss with my heart. But then to get out of that near miss and spend the next weeks around people who had lived their whole life, and then it totally was changing on them. And I mean, it was, there's a lot of different stories in there, positive and negative, but it was a really big life lesson. So I always say, for me, like, every day is a good day. I kind of wake up very optimistic about every day. I think that optimism is what gave me the courage to buy the Horse and Hunt Club. I closed on the Horse and Hunt Club April 2020. The governor had everything shut down. It was, and everybody thought I really had lost my mind. Like, there were attorneys and bankers and everybody who were just like, this is not happening. You've got to be kidding me. And I would tell them my story. I'm like, I don't live in fear anymore. Like, every day for me is house money. So I don't live in fear. So I just plow forward with life, and I don't care that that business is closed. I know what I'm buying. So as I would go through about a 9-month recovery process at home. Probably 6 months of that, at the age of 43, I never thought I'd return to work full time because my body just wasn't responding. It was a very challenging physical recovery process for me, lots of therapy. I had to graduate from the nursing home, so I had to learn how to, like, dress and shower and walk up and down stairs and all that stuff. And so just a lot of times I wasn't able to walk the dogs, which was tough for me. So I would go out and do my own little physical therapy and then rest, and a little bit, just kind of slowly building block by block each day. So I got to a point where I felt comfortable potentially working a couple days a week and see if I could do things part time. And this is where I jumped on Craigslist. Being in the hospitality industry, whenever you were curious of who was hiring, you just jump on Craigslist, look under the hospitality tab, and please see who was hiring. And so I typed in clubs to see which country clubs might be hiring, because I had a network of people that I knew at a variety of clubs. And the first thing that popped up was Horse and Hunt Club. And I thought, well, that's an interesting opportunity, because I had been out at Horse and Hunt Club as a guest of some members and just had shot clays out here. So I was aware of the club, and thought, that's a unique opportunity. It's something I love doing. And I probably could get to a point where I could start exercising my dogs off leash and that kind of thing out at the club. And so I wrote a very honest letter to the general manager about why I was applying, what had happened in my life, why I was more qualified than just a part-time bartender, banquet side. But got to know him. And he was getting ready to retire, but in order to retire, he had to find his replacement. And so he would say to me, I think you're the guy to replace me as general manager. And I said, I'm the guy with the skills. I just don't know if I've got the body to do it. And what would happen is I would start part-time, kind of seeing if it worked. My body got back on track quick. Going back to work was the best thing for me. And then, so agreed with the owners to kind of become GM in training, got to know the owners that way, and then would approach them later on through that process. So I had worked out here for about 2.5 years when I closed on it. And so I knew what I was buying. I knew how much I loved the club. It really was a culmination of a lot of backgrounds for me. I've got a farm in South Dakota, so I know the farming side. I've been involved with dog training ever since high school, and love the outdoors, love the upland part. So it was kind of an interesting culmination of all the hospitality background and all the passion for the outdoors that culminated to this. So here we are. It's very serendipitous. I wouldn't ever recommend the path to anybody, but it brought me where I am today. So
Isn't it funny? I always in my head play this game where I'd like trace the dominoes back to what event or what decision got me where I am. And
Yeah.
almost always you can track that back to something that was horrid, like a really bad time or a hard time.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't go on Craigslist. And
No,
you wouldn't have
yeah. And
gone,
I have,
you know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like how bizarre.
I couldn't even go back and chart where my path would have been because I didn't have the courage to go back into hospitality where, I mean, if anybody who's been in hospitality, you're on your feet, you're moving, you've got to bring energy to hospitality. Otherwise it'll eat you up. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to hit it. Otherwise it's going to hit you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, and when you look back on the path too, it's, I mean, the dog element from the club, I worked at a vet in high school, like, and it was just a dumb little kennel job, go figure, years down the road it would apply. But yeah, your point's correct. When you look back at the dominoes and the way they fell, sometimes it's the domino that fell the wrong direction that started a whole chain of events down the road that you never, like, at that time when that domino was falling, you were so frustrated by it, and then lo and behold, it's the one that took you on a different path. So
Right. So it's not actually the event, it's how you respond to the event.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yep,
All right.
totally.
Let's talk. Oh, you have
I
another
was just gonna
question?
say, how are you feeling today? Are you fully recovered?
I feel great. Yeah. So, update on me. Heart's always done very well. I did not have a heart attack, so it was caught before any kind of cardiac arrest occurred, and so my heart recovered very well. And now I've got all new plumbing. So the motor's good, and now I've got new pipes. Um, the kidney damage would result in me going through a second phase of a really tough period, which culminated in me getting a kidney transplant about a year and a half ago. I was part of a 6-way paired exchange. Somebody donated on my behalf. When I became eligible for kidney transplant, I would have 11 people opt into the program to see if they were eligible. So I'm blessed in a lot of ways. I've got a really good network of people. And then, so the person who wound up, I had 2 direct matches, and one of them agreed to go in the paired exchange. Within the paired exchange, an excellent kidney match for me showed up from a 27-year-old male out of Nashville, Tennessee. So I like to say I've got a lower mileage model. I've got a younger kidney. And that was really what put me over the top. So to be honest with you, I'm feeling better than I felt in the last 10 years. So
amazing. That's so good to hear.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk Horse and Hunt Club.
sure. Yeah. Horse and Hunt Club. It's been here as an outdoor club since the mid 70s. It was opened as Wilderness Outdoors. In the mid 80s, the 2 gentlemen that I bought the club from turned it into Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club. A lot of times we get asked what the history of the name is. And what it is back in the 80s, hunt clubs, gun clubs were very misogynistic. They were almost like a moose lodge. They were men only. The 2 gentlemen who purchased it were looking for a way to be more appealing to the metro as a whole because they live up in the suburbs. And one of the wives of the 2 gentlemen was a horse person. And so they kind of had a concept that really never came to fruition. But the concept was that the gals would go ride horses, the men would go hunt, and then they would come together and have dinner in the clubhouse afterwards. That really never came to fruition. But what it came out of it is a name that lands really soft towards people, where we're not the Minnesota Hunt Club, where we're perceived as only a gun club. The horse kind of creates that. That's interesting. Where did that come from? Probably one of the most fun phone calls we get is about once a month we'll get a call from somebody visiting from Europe who wants to come out and do a fox hunt. They think we actually ride the horses, send out the beagles, and go on a big giant hunt, because you're really not allowed to do that in Europe anymore. There are still fox hunts in Europe, but they're extremely exclusive. They're really a blue blood thing. So we enjoy a chuckle that people perceive that the horse is involved in the hunting.
So awesome.
They're really separate on the property. The horses are their own boarding facility. They're dressage trained, and the hunting and the shooting is a different thing. But the club is not just hunting and horses. We're a hospitality facility. We'll host over 250 events this year, various fundraisers, school things, sports teams, weddings, banquets. A lot of those events also include some of the recreation that we do out here. Whole variety of outdoor activities, bird hunting, dog training. We do dog competitions where the dog is it's a hunting trial systems, clay shooting, trap shooting. The trap team popularity in Minnesota is wild. It's unbelievable, the growth of the high school trap shooting in Minnesota. It's the fastest growing high school sport in the country based on Minnesota alone from a percentage standpoint in terms of growth. So that's becoming very popular. Probably the biggest popularity growth for Horse and Hunt Club in the last 10 years has just been a lot of people have lost access to what would be considered heritage hunting ground. So people had farms in their families. People post, baby boomers had a lot of access to family land to go hunt, those kind of things. As those farms have been split up throughout the generations and aren't in the family anymore, we provide an opportunity for people to come out and still keep their family traditions. So the busiest day at the club is Black Friday. So a lot of families had a Thanksgiving tradition of going out and hunting after Thanksgiving, or as part of Thanksgiving would go hunting. And again, they don't have that family land anymore. So they'll come out on Black Friday and do bird hunts with their family, multi-generation hunts. And a lot of times it's the part of the family that wants to go shopping on Black Friday goes shopping, and the part that wants to go hunting and goes outdoors comes to the Horse and Hunt Club. So we're a very unique club in that our proximity to the metro. Most clubs that do what we do year round aren't this close to the metro. We're 25 minutes from the international airport on the south side of Prior Lake. And so we have access to a very large metro population. And then on top of that, Minnesota is one of the highest volume outdoor activity states in the country. So that two combinations makes us a very busy club. We're a top 10 club in the country for number of clays thrown. Our sporting clay league is.
I remember you saying that number. What is that number?
We throw over 3.5 million clays a year. So
that is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you dispose of
them? Yeah. So they're biodegradable. They break down. So
really,
it's clay. So what's funny is if you Google map Horse and Hunt Club, you can tell where the clay ranges are because they're painted orange so that they're visible as they're thrown.
Yeah.
And so you'll see the various little cones throughout the property where the clay throwers are throwing. But some of those clay stations have been used for over 30 years. Yeah. And so the clay just breaks down and
you're just building little hills.
So it's a natural element.
Yeah.
No, you can tell there's little bit areas, but it breaks down in such a matter, and it's clay. It doesn't really hold that well, so it tends to just go right.
Yeah, I guess I mean that was probably kind of a dumb question because it's called a clay for a reason, and I've shot clays before, but I guess I would have assumed that by now it's a different product. But why change it if it works?
Yeah, the sport of shooting clays was really developed for World War II aircraft pilots. They would send World War II fighter pilots to an area in Nebraska and send them out with shotguns and have them shoot clays. And it was to practice their eyes on leading things. And which is interesting how it correlates because now when we do like an intro to family package or we're taking out new shooters with their families, the teenage kids are incredibly better shooters than their parents when they're learning it at first. And that's because so many of the video games that have been created in the last 15 years have created a lead element to it. So kids understand leading things with game. Throughout video games, their eyes are conditioned to understand leading things and working ahead of things because it's been developed into so many video games. So it's interesting how something that was designed to, have an application for fighter pilots in the 30s and 40s, now the application comes out through electronics for kids, but they're understanding that lead element. So
funny. Yeah, I'm glad you said that because one of the questions I was going to ask is it's probably intimidating for somebody who's never picked up a gun before or been to a property like yours. So like, what would you say to someone who's a total beginner and is like, maybe they don't want to shoot, maybe they don't want to shoot, but they want to come out and check it out. How do they do that?
And what's happening to a lot of families is families are finding that the kids want to join the sport, but the parents didn't grow up doing it. Or the worst case scenario is the parents got put the equipment has really changed. It is very shooting trap, skeet, clays is very low impact. The gun design, the shells, everything. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people with horror stories of where their uncle thought it was funny to put a gun in their hand and have them shoot out at the farm. And they would shoot a full choke field load shell that would buck them so hard they'd almost fall to the ground. And everybody thought, ha, 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 that's funny. Well, the problem was that created a situation where people are like, I'm never doing that again. That hurt. From an introduction standpoint, that's something we really pride ourselves in, is helping people come out and learn the sport. We will take you out. We will show you how it works. We'll show you how to operate the clay machines. We have instructors where if you want to set up a package in advance, we have a family package where they can come out and do it, and they get an hour with the instructor. But one of the things we'll do is a lot of times it comes out as a family unit. And in Minnesota, parents can decide what kids shoot when at what age. So when they're with the parents can decide, okay, I'm going to let my fourth grader try shooting a little 22 single shot rifle to learn that. Or at age 11, I'm going to let them try a 410 shotgun out at the clay course. So there's no age restrictions in terms of when they get a chance to try it. When they come out as a family unit, a lot of times the moms are like, no, I'm just here to watch. I just want to see how it's going. And we're like, nope, mom shoots first. And the kids love it because the kids are like, yeah, mom's got to shoot first. But we do that to take away that intimidation that you're talking about. It's extremely intimidating. We understand that. But we take great pride in helping people understand it's a very safe sport. We teach you how to properly handle the gun and the ammunition and how to properly shoot. But it doesn't need to be as intimidating as it feels. And by the end, everybody's having a blast. I mean, they really are learning something. It's an interesting element too, because it kind of develops its way. Some family units are extremely competitive, and so they start competing with each other immediately. Some family units are more just about encouraging in the experience. And so they just get excited when anybody breaks a clay or anybody has success. So it's interesting to see how the family dynamic kind of shakes out too, because sometimes you get like two siblings who are ultra competitive and they insist on, if the other one breaks 3, they got to break 4. And so it's kind of interesting to see how that dynamic shakes out too. So
I can see why that would be a really fun holiday tradition to go out there after.
That would be really cool.
Especially
yep.
the time of year and the temperature. Like, that's like the perfect setting, I can imagine.
If somebody wants to shoot like a low powered rifle or archery, do you have that?
So
option?
Archery is open to the public. The clay operation's open to the public. The restaurant, Sunday brunch is all open to the public. What's required for membership at the Horse and Hunt Club is access to the rifle and pistol ranges and access to the bird hunting fields.
Got it.
And the reason we're kind of a balanced club between private and public, we are so close to the metro that if our rifle and pistol ranges were open to the public or our bird hunting was open to the public, we wouldn't be able to handle that kind of volume. So we restrict access to those parts of the property through membership, but encourage the public to come out and try the other things. One of the benefits of Horse and Hunt Club is because we're open to the public and we have that public volume traffic, we're able to keep the membership fees very reasonable. So it's not an incredibly expensive membership. The highest price membership is the full hunt membership, which runs about $1,800. And there's a bunch of things built into it. So this is not an exclusive club by any means. I like to tell people, like, we're the club for people who earned it and didn't inherit it. This is not like you didn't have to be somebody, or grandpa didn't have to be somebody in order to come enjoy this club. We're kind of the club for everybody. So
cool.
That's awesome. And what type of restaurant do you have there?
So our restaurant, I'm a foodie. I take great pride in our restaurant. Our restaurant really is kind of a all-American. Everyone's talking about supper clubs, but we're always a supper club.
Okay.
Chef Andy and I met each other at Ike's. Anybody ever ate at Ike's Food and Cocktail? The real core principle of Ike's was that everything's fresh. And so there's very few product items that come from the freezer. We use some wild game on the menu, and those items just have to come frozen because of where they come from, those kind of things.
Sure.
But when you look at like a salad dressing, a sauce, anything that we use that's a marinade, any of that kind of stuff, that's all handmade stuff. None of that stuff comes from a jar. Look, it's a killer menu. We do our own burger patty. It's never frozen. So it's kind of a smash on the grill burger. But I stand behind our food anytime. And it's extremely family friendly restaurant. We do like a little gift bag for the kids to do some toys. The kids love walking around the clubhouse, seeing all the variety of animals. So it's extremely family friendly. And that really goes back to that core principle of what the way the club was designed. The club was designed to be a place where women felt comfortable coming out. Kids felt comfortable coming out. So it really does have a family element to it. And the thing about it is, I mean, kids can come out and participate in the shooting at any age and not even shoot. My little nephews have been wearing earplugs since they could push the button and release the clays, but they like going out and experiencing it too. So it's an extremely family friendly atmosphere, community friendly. So
that's awesome. We have to make sure we get out there.
I know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I mean, when we first moved more towards like Credit River, Lakeville, Prior Lake area, I'd always known about it, but I thought it was private, and I also don't shoot. And so I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. Like, is there even anything for us to do?
I picture Carissa walking in the front door and the music turning off and everyone looking at her like, who's this girl?
Like walking into a small town bar when everybody turns. Wait, who's that? Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all.
Hi, I'm here for the vegetarian menu.
I started asking questions because
that is one of our throughout, as we host weddings and different banquet events, there are vegans that are coming. But we kind of think like it's kind of ironic that a vegan gets stuck in a room with hundreds of dead animals watching them eat mushroom ravioli. We are who we are out here. We've got options for them, but we just kind of got to figure it's a little bit of their private hell sitting in a room with all the dead animals on the
probably
wall.
A little bit. So what's what are you excited about out there? What's next? We got a couple more minutes to go and hear about the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Next thing for us is we started last winter shooting clays out of a heated stand that we light up until 8:00 at night. So it's kind of like Top Golf for clays. It's a real opportunity for people in the wintertime to come out and still enjoy the sport. It's a unique club that we're open year round and operate year round. We do everything year round from a bird standpoint, dog training, all those things. So we're expanding the heated clays out into 3 stations. So there'll be 3 whole different separate courses where you shoot around a 50 clays from a heated stand. You basically pick up about 20 degrees in the heated stand. You're shooting out a window, but you're standing within a heated structure. So you're able to sit there in a sweatshirt and not have to wear gloves and enjoy an outdoor activity. Biggest challenge with that is when it gets to be about 10 degrees or even below 0, you got to hold your breath because the fog tends to freeze right in front of your face and acts like a smoke screen. But otherwise, it really is a fun way to enjoy the clays all the way throughout the year.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And do you guys do anything else over the winter, or just that heated shooting?
Heated, the dog trials. So the dog tournaments run throughout the winter. Everybody's out using their hunting dogs during the hunting season when the season's open. Once the season closes, then we do these dog hunter tournaments. They're timed events. Performance is based on both the handler and the dog. And so that's a tournament. We do a variety of tournaments with that. The hospitality part stays open year round. The only day the horse and hunt clubs close is Christmas Day. So every Sunday, there's a fabulous Sunday brunch upstairs. We serve hundreds of people every Sunday. It's a fabulous brunch. But otherwise, it's just,
we got to get out there.
Enjoying the outdoors. The cool part is my background being country clubs and golf, the country clubs would really slow down in the wintertime. But out here, outdoors, people are pretty rugged, and depending on the weather, they like to go out. But the clay courses are open all throughout the winter, so you can do outdoor clay shooting. It's very different because there's no leaves on the tree and the bright orange clay against the white snow. But it's actually kind of my favorite way to shoot them. It's so fun because it's just a different sight line. It looks different. And there's just something kind of fun about being a Minnesotan and doing things out in the wintertime that you're maybe not supposed to do in the wintertime necessarily, but it makes it fun. So
I was just going to say,
there's always things going on here.
I always tell everybody who asks about our winters, I'm like, you have to find something to do or it will drive you crazy. You know, like
Absolutely.
it's got to be you like to skate or you like to ski or you like to shoot clays in the winter out of a heated stand. You know, it's like you got to find something.
Yeah.
Stay busy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So cool. Well, I think I think we got everything we needed to. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, just inviting people to come out and try it. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Look, when you drive past the driveway, you don't know what's back here till you pull up the road and see the clubhouse. It's not a place you drive by and go, honey, some night we should go have dinner there. So you got to come find us, but you won't be disappointed in the food. And if you come out and enjoy the recreation part of it too, you'll find we do it right out here. So
what are the hours of the restaurant?
Restaurant is lunch and dinner 7 days a week. So lunch starts at 11 and then dinner goes till 8. There's feature nights, like Wednesday night is house smoked ribs. Thursday night, we make our own tacos. Friday night's a hand cut ribeye. Saturday, we house smoke our own prime rib. So
Very cool.
we're always doing things out on the smoke.
And you guys have like full bar and stuff you can sit in there and
full bar, full menu.
Is that shut down at 8 o'clock? Because every now and then when we get date night, we're always looking for a place to have a nightcap. Is it a hard 8 o'clock?
Well, no, the kitchen closes around 8 and then the bar's open. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't have any more questions. Do you? David, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks you guys.
We'll see you out at the Horse and Hunt Club.
Sounds good.